Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Life Untamed. I have a good friend on today, Kristen Oliver. She is a transformational life coach, an author, and a speaker. Kristen, how's it going?
It's wonderful. Thanks so much for having me, Tom.
So glad to be here with you today.
Yeah, thanks.
So we've known each other for like 20 some years, met in college in a drunken haze at a party of some sort, right?
Right, I'm sure. Yeah.
So here we are now, 20 some years later, and we're about to talk about some deep shit.
Right.
Right?
I mean, who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed?
From keg stands to, spiritual shit. Yay.
Right. Love it. So Kristen, how did you get started on your journey down this path?
Well, I think I was always interested in personal growth, but it was never a top priority of mine. And about 14 years ago, I found myself really sick. Really sick meant completely exhausted and overwhelmed every single day. I couldn't go up a flight of steps without getting winded. I had major digestive issues, and like on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being feeling great and 0 being awful, I probably felt like 2 or 3 every day. It was awful. It encompassed everything in my life. And so I did what anybody would do. I went to the doctor, and they ran tests and sent me to specialists and basically came up with nothing. My stubbornness has served me sometimes, and sometimes it's been, my own demise, but it's pretty stubborn. And I actually found a doctor in Pennsylvania. I'm living in North Carolina now, who was able to figure out a little bit more of what was going on. And so I started changing the way I was eating, started taking supplements, and kind of bringing forth a little bit of mindfulness, but I got better and better. And then I plateaued, spending hundreds of dollars, like $200, $300, $400 a month on this level of care and supplements. And it wasn't enough. And I had this kind of rock bottom moment where a friend of mine from college, who you probably also know, said something to me that changed my life forever. She said, Kristen, I think that on some level you're choosing this. And I had 2 choices there. I wanted to hang the phone up on her, but I chose to stay on, and it just broke me. In that moment, I lost it, and I realized I was missing something. And so I sent this kind of proclamation out to God and life and the universe and whatever's out there, and said, I'm clearly missing something. I cannot bring forth health with the same situation that brought me this sickness. So it was then that my whole world opened up. And I often don't share exactly what the first thing was that happened, but when I sent this proclamation out, essentially I'm saying I'm open. And I happened to see Dr. Wayne Dyer on PBS 3 hours later, as I'm like half petrified and half the most relieved I've ever felt watching this, talking about things I had never heard of before, using words that typically, if I had not asked for this shift, I would have turned off the TV. And I listened, and it changed my life. And I just opened up more and more and more. I asked, the universe, bring me some more friends that I can talk about this with. And I met a good friend of mine who I'm still very close with today, who introduced me to like concepts in A Course in Miracles and these like kind of really profound, deep spiritual concepts. And I ended up seeing how my thoughts were affecting my health. And I dove in, I dissected it, and I actually healed myself through changing my thoughts.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. So you just had this aha moment watching Wayne Dyer, and then that was it. It's amazing how once you put something out to the universe, it just throws everything at you. Like I'm meeting the most amazing people all of a sudden that are podcast guests or future guests. It's just amazing. And they just fall into my lap.
Absolutely. That's the abundance mentality, right? So you're already in a state of receiving, and therefore your brain, this is what I teach, your brain wants to be right. So if you're in a state of receiving in terms of meeting these people, your brain wants to be right. So you're going to continue to meet people like this.
To find it, right. Yeah. The law of attraction always proves you right.
Exactly.
Whether it's working for you or against you.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. I love hearing stories like that. It's so inspiring.
Yeah, and it really actually didn't stop there. I mean, the even bigger transformation probably was what happened after that. So if you don't mind, I'll share a little bit of that.
Oh, please do.
Fast forward after improving my health, then I had a son, and then 2 years later I had a daughter. And fast forward again, and I'm basically completely overwhelmed, exhausted mom of two beautiful, precious, wonderful kids who, I kept trying to fix and change. So I'm driving them all around my city to all sorts of professionals, alternative, integrative, everything, trying to fix and change my kids. And I had it was more of a gradual aha this time. It wasn't that one moment, but it was like, you know what? I worked on my thoughts to heal my body. What happens if I stop trying to change my kids and I work on myself? What can happen there? And so I stopped all of these efforts to change them, and I worked on myself. And as you can guess, I start to see things change for my kids. I had some profound, again, what I would call like spiritual experiences that blew my mind, but then brought me to this place of feeling isolated because I didn't feel like I could share that with anyone. And then I found the science behind why these things were happening, the neuroscience behind these shiftings, and it brought it brought light to everything, and it helped me feel more comfortable to kind of come out and tell people what was going on. So my background is actually in occupational therapy. I have my master's in OT, and I was working in pediatrics. I'd taken a break for a while, and then I decided, you know what, I want to see if this stuff, is it just me? Am I crazy? Or is this applicable for other people and other people's kids? So I went back into my field. I did enough traditional therapy to stay ethical. And when I had an extra moment or a few minutes in between kids, and I had a moment to try to introduce these concepts to kids or teachers or parents, I would, if the door was opening, I'd just nudge in there a little bit. And I started seeing this stuff working for other people's kids and other families. And so I felt best then kind of leaving that traditional realm and working for myself.
I love it. And I hope my sister listens to this, because now I can tease her. Every time her kids act out, it's her fault.
No! Guilt is poison. Guilt is poison.
No, I'm just playing.
We can empower. It's okay. We can empower. Right?
We have a friendship like that. We can kid around with each other.
Yeah. Okay.
So what you were finding was actually it was a reflection that the parents were getting back from their kids from what they were putting off, like the vibe that they were putting out.
Right. Well, our fear, it's kind of like the law of attraction in your biggest fears. If you want your shit to be up in your face, if you want it right there in your face, have some kids, because you can't get anything any closer than your own children. There's not one parent in this world who doesn't want their child to thrive and succeed, but we weren't given, a handbook. So here you are with this biggest, kind of area of your life. And if that goes awry, then it rocks the parent's world from the core. So yeah, it's really intense work to work with families, and also extremely rewarding, because as soon as they figure out, oh, you mean it's okay, the kids might have some things going on and benefit from some help, but as soon as they realize that they're the parents are the ones that can do more of this work, it's very humbling, but then extremely empowering.
That's great. So at first they probably meet it with a lot of resistance, right? Like coming to terms that it's them that is the problem.
So I'm pretty gentle with people, and I'm also very open, exposing my own life and my own mistakes. I wrote a whole book on all of this, and didn't really hold back in terms of my own mistakes. So they don't feel intimidated as much by that. And really it takes a person who is open and far enough along that they're willing to hear this as a possibility. And those people kind of weed themselves out pretty quickly if they find out that, I used to wait at least 4 sessions with the parents before I meet the kids. I said, if things aren't different after 4 sessions, then I'll see your child. And so many people you think they're just going to check off these 4 sessions. Well, they get to the 4th one, their entire life is different. And I ended up at that point, when I still worked with kids more, I probably worked with 10% of the kids. That means in 90% of the cases, there was enough that was different that the parents didn't need to bring the kids in.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That is wild. So I know you do retreats.
Mm-hmm.
Is this, tell me about the retreats. What are they like?
So the retreats actually came as a result of just asking my clients what they needed. So, a lot of times I'll do classes and then group work and one-on-ones. And then I just kept asking my classes, what do you want? Would you all want to go away for a weekend? And it was just this overwhelming yes. So retreat is, wow. I mean, it's remove yourself from all of your triggers, which is great. But then I very gently start to kind of open up where your biggest problems are. Most people come to the retreats, a weekend, a Friday night, all day Saturday and Sunday till noon. And they think that they're coming to, work on, this issue with their child or, their mom or their career or something. And they come to the retreat and they know already kind of what I'm working with, what's your intention, where are your emotions? And I'm telling you, like, what happens at these retreats, I didn't really know what to expect, but it was very profound. And people reporting back to me, I thought I was coming for this, this, and this. And you took me on this deep dive journey. And I saw how my issues today were relating to the biggest challenges I had as a child, or this traumatic event when I was 8. I can't believe you drew my career and my relationship with my husband back to this, this childhood, trauma. And then we actually like gently and lovingly dive into that and do, specific healing work. And every single thing that I teach, and this is something I must have signed up for on some level before coming into this incarnation, I go through it first. So my first retreat last year was Take the Leap in October. And I got sick for 3 weeks. In the middle of my own illness, trying to work through all of this stuff, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm writing my retreat. I've got to take my clients through this exact process. Then this last one, which was Dive Deep, my own coach, which I love announcing. I have coaches. I have business coaches. I have personal coaches. I mean, I'm not apologizing about any of that. My own coach said, Kristen, what did you name this retreat? She's witnessing me over like 3 or 4 months of really big emotional work. And she's like, what did you name your retreat? And I said, Dive Deep. And then she just started laughing. Well, okay, here you go. You chose this. So this last retreat I wrote after experiencing, another big emotional healing from, the last 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
So it's really transformational, journey, but it's, I really hold that space for people to feel and heal.
That's amazing. So you've done a lot of these healings on yourself. It's a constant journey, right?
Oh yes. And that's the thing is, I think when clients get, a few months in, or even a year or so into this work, and they say, so wait a minute, you mean to tell me that this doesn't really go away? And I'm like, I'm sorry. The thing is, you get, I like to say that our inner work is like a diagonal upward spiral. So, when we hit that low, it's because we're getting ready to hit another big realization. And then we might journey again down only to go up again. And so, not to get discouraged when we get down here. The difference now for me and for my clients is that I know what to do. Nothing rocks my world anymore. Nothing like knocks me on my ass like it used to. It might, if it does, I just sit there for a moment. I go, oh my gosh, okay, here we go again. It's okay. It's all right. I know what to do. And I take myself through my own process. And, sometimes it takes me a day or so to remember, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Okay. I get it. And that's, sometimes I go through that shame of I teach this stuff and I'm still screwing up, but that's just that ego, the little ego voice. And I can kind of recognize that, acknowledge it, and then move on.
I love it. And I love that diagram, because you're right. So it's always, you take steps forward and then you take steps back forward. As long as you keep going up, yeah. It's not a constant move.
Right. And I do like the idea that it's a spiral, because even when you're going down, you're still moving, you're still in movement, and then getting ready to go up again. Because I think one of the biggest challenges is when we find ourselves, we think we're back where we were, it's that total fear. Holy shit. oh my God, I thought I'd healed this. I thought I'd already cleared this. And we could then just spiral down into old habits and old patterns and old beliefs. But if we just recognize, okay, no, it's all right. This is just another layer. So when I talk about working through layers of your story, it's the opposite. The more work we do, we have this down, like we get deeper into the story as we get more and more, elevated in our healing. So again, just with this last retreat, I went back into a challenge I had in college. So this was before I met you. My love of my life, like freshman year boyfriend, cheated on me, and it was something I never fully dealt with. What did I do then to manage that? I just drank more. So in this last like emotional work that I've done, healing that I took myself through, I was shocked, but it went right back there, and I had to kind of live that again. And I had already forgiven him, but I had never dealt with the trauma inside, and that led to feelings of abandonment. And then when you go further into that, you have to look at what's going on, what happened in your life in your earliest years. And I had fabulous, parents, but there's going to be stuff there. And so it took me on this journey deeper into my story, but further up on that emotional healing scale.
I love that. Actually, something happened to me recently that I thought I had healed. I've had this fear of public speaking, and I tackled it head first. I joined Toastmasters, all this stuff. I did a hypnosis session. It really helped me out because I always knew I had it deep down inside. I could be a great speaker. Then I'm winning all these contests, like club contests, then the next one, the area contest. And I don't know if I got cocky with it or I just thought that I kicked it. And I went and I won a contest, a second contest. Wow. And then as a tune-up before a big one, I went as a guest to another Toastmasters meeting in Boca. And there was only 9 people there. At these contests, there's like 50, 70 people, right?
Okay.
So in front of 9 people, this is a speech that I could do for you right now, even though I haven't even done it in 2 months, because it was that ingrained into my head, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't know what happened. I got up there, I felt weird, and I completely blanked out.
Wow.
In front of 9 people. A speech that I've won contest with.
Wow. How did you feel?
2 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
I was pissed. I was like, fuck. I was like, I thought I was over this.
Yeah.
I like you said, all of a sudden I felt like I was back at square one. I'm like, what is going on? And here's the crazy thing. This never even happened to me. Like when I first started and I was nervous, like, I'd get the pounding heartbeat, you'd start to like gasp for air, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I never blanked. So like what happened there never even happened to me when I was bad at it.
Wow. Wow.
So it rocked my world. And I stopped because I just got flustered. And then my mind went blank. And then all of a sudden I jumped to like the ending of the speech. I was like, what am I doing? I stopped. I said, hey, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, do you mind if I need to regroup and sit down and like try it again later? So like the 2 other speakers went and they spoke. And as I was sitting there, I was like, I just wanted to like, honestly, I felt like
disappear,
going out to my car and crying. That's how fucking bad I felt.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so humiliating. Like, this is what the hell? I thought I kicked this. And so I was like, I got to do this. I can't leave. I got to go back and do this. I can't leave. I'm the president of the Toastmasters Club. Like, this is insane. I'm like losing my shit. Mm-hmm. And so just to help me out, I wrote down like a few lines just in case I forgot that I could look at and remember. Mm-hmm. But I went back up there. I did the speech. It wasn't fantastic, but I did it.
Yeah.
And then I had another contest 2 weeks later. I'm like, I need to deal with this. So I went and did another hypnosis session. Mm-hmm. And I went and it was just amazing. I basically had an outer body experience. I was doing my speech. And I'm able to talk to myself at the same time. And I'm like, oh my God, you're killing it. Like, it's amazing. I'm able to have a side conversation because I was just on autopilot talking.
Right, right.
Anyways,
So that's
but long
awesome.
story short, I know what you're saying. Like I thought I beat that, and then I just
Right.
got just rocked my world,
Right.
and
Did you,
now it's still in the back of my head now, and I
what's
got
in the back of your head? That kind of that fear that it might
that
happen again?
well that it can happen again.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
it's
that's humbling, right?
very humbling.
But also could elicit that fear. So I love that that you were keenly aware. You took care of yourself. You said in front of these people, total authenticity and vulnerability, like, wow, can I have some time? That's awesome self-care. And and you regrouped and took care of that. But then also, I love that you made yourself another hypnotherapy appointment and worked through that. And so I would just say to add to that, I love coaching people through retroactive clearing, healing. Like, there's a mini trauma that you experienced, and my guess is it was probably related to something from your past. And we could kind of just go through a little bit of that and figure out what it was if we wanted to. But then also, I like to coach people through proactive clearing. So, basically, feeling all of those emotions that are present before your next, speaking opportunity, and even playing all those little scenarios out, honoring those emotions. One of the biggest things that we do, even especially in spiritual work, is jump past those emotions. Like, I should be past this. Let me go ahead and do my meditation, or let me do this or whatever. If we skip those, honoring those emotions, that's kind of like ignoring our own self as a child, ignoring our inner child. And we have kind of vengeful inner children sometimes. They want to be seen and they want to be heard. And so they can kind of sabotage situations so that we actually do that work. So, clearing those memories, that cellular memory of whatever the trauma was in the past. You don't even need to know it, but that kind of fear of speaking, and then bringing forth this emotion. As if you can make the emotion in your body real as possible. I'm always telling people, how do you want to feel after the phone call, or how do you want to feel after this, communication, or how do you want to feel after, after this date, or how do you want to feel at the end of the year doing your taxes, and if you can bring that feeling in ahead of time and make it real, then you're just matching emotions, and you let the universe take care of that experience, bringing that experience to you.
Yes. So a lot of your stuff is law of attraction types. That's huge, law of
Yeah.
attraction.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it. I love talking about it. Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't mean to
No, it's
interject with
perfect. No, it's
that.
perfect. I mean, I don't necessarily label it that way, but certainly that's a big part along this journey. I did find for myself that many law of attraction type approaches for me left something out. And that is whatever the block is. So one of the biggest things that I do is I help people identify what's blocking them. Almost everybody can now agree that what you focus on grows. And I had this yogi that I worked with, forever ago, and he would just say everything so slowly, and he would say, "Where attention goes, energy flows," and I was just like, that's easy for you to say, but I'm going crazy here, So I had to find, like, what was blocking me. What was my glass ceiling. I understood that I could have anything that I really deeply desired, but I normally had some sort of block that was preventing me from getting there. And so, with all of my clients in my own work, you dissect what's happening in your life today, and it's going to lead you to a limiting set of limiting beliefs and unconscious, patterns. If we can go in and figure out what those are without judgment and guilt and blame and shame, we just look at them very objectively, and then one by one just start blasting through those. A lot of times it's that we don't have the cellular memory or what it feels like to receive what it is we most deeply desire. If we've never felt it before, it's foreign. So if what we really desire is this wonderful thing, and we don't have the receptor to receive it, it's just going to pass us by. But if we start creating a receptor, then we're going to be able to experience whatever that is. So I think that there's a piece of identifying and clearing your block that is really integral in that work.
I love it. I love it. And I definitely I'm aware. So I know I still have blocks as well. And
so do I.
yeah, maybe we can talk about that off the air.
Yeah, sounds good.
And squash some of that. But I love what you're saying. It's amazing. Yeah, some people just don't even know what it feels like to feel good. They're so used to feeling bad that they're used to it, and that's just what they think the baseline is.
Yeah.
You know, life is supposed to be amazing and happy, and you don't have to live a miserable life.
Right.
So what are some of these things that people come in to talk about, like blocks? You say you dig deep, they come in for one thing, and then you find out about other things.
Right.
What are the main things people want to deal with, and what are some of the other things that they find out?
Well, typically, so if somebody will come in because of, there's a few like of the main reasons that people will come in. So parenting is one, because a lot of times parents or women in particular won't do something for themselves, but they'll do it for their child. That's when you have self-worth issues, but you have this child who's very, needy or has anxiety or whatever. Let me go and, to this coach in this parenting classes and whatever. And then when we work through that, they can't believe it. Sometimes they come in, they have two kids. One is more challenging maybe than the other. And they work through that after, a few months. And then they go, you're never going to believe this. Now it's my other kid. And then I just gently go, okay, all right, let's turn the mirror around and let's work some more on you. And then a lot of times it gets to relationship issues, with their spouse that they didn't have time to even address. But then they get into that. And then when we go deep enough there, a lot of times I'll get intuition, there's something more. I have a client I'm thinking of where everything in my own intuition was saying, there is something more, there's something more. And she just kind of denied. And it was okay. I wasn't going to push, too hard. And then, 3 sessions later, she says, Kristen, you're so right. Like my husband and I have had, we've not had sex for, X amount of months. And before that it wasn't good. And now I'm petrified and I'm closed off and, I don't want to lose my marriage because of this. And so that's one of those kind of, things that almost all of the work, I won't say all the time, but a good percentage of the time when somebody's comfortable and they've peeled away the top layers, sexuality or, childhood issues come up after time. But, and then with the retreats, people will come in thinking they're going to work on their relationship with their husband, but then, or their finances or whatever. And they get into, a self-worth issue when they were kids or something.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the taboo issues that no one wants to talk about, like money. Money is evil, and sex. Everybody in life, obviously, that you want good health, and then aside from that, you want to be happy, you want to have money, and you want to have good sex and have good relationships.
Yeah.
But sometimes people get weird talking about money.
Yeah. Right.
And sex. So where do you fall with that?
I love talking about all topics, and it's mainly because as I keep healing, I become more and more open, and I realize that these are some of the areas that when we're afraid to talk about it, then there's a lot there. And if you think about that idea of that receptor and being able to receive that which we most deeply desire, it's one thing to manifest material items, right? But that is not going to lead to lasting joy. If we don't have a receiver, if we don't have receptor to receive love, we're not going to have receptor typically to receive money sometimes or intimacy, and sex, we always, really what sex is about is intimacy. And many people don't have that receiver to experience intimacy in any sort of relationship. Sexuality being so taboo, and we're all carrying challenges from our own experience, challenges from our family and our ancestors, and then challenges from the collective. So that's a lot to handle when it comes to sexuality. And most people we did not grow up in a culture where it was an open topic. I had one of my friends who lives in Europe say, our country is the most over sexualized and repressed at the same time. And I just sat there thinking about that. You're absolutely right. It's not comfortable to talk about it. And when it is talked about, it's joked about, and it's not, it's not honored. And I'm actually starting to study some ancient texts on sacred sexuality, where sexuality and spirituality were kind of intermingled. We can't even fathom that. We cannot even fathom that at this point. If we can't even talk about it, how could we bring it into, a spiritual practice? So anyway, it's something my work in one-on-ones and in smaller groups, we have been able to go there. But the further I'm, able to and willing to go with this, I really like to help people heal that way, because sometimes you hear somebody on their deathbed saying, I would have had more fun. I wouldn't have worked one more day. Well, I heard somebody recently saying, well, I would have had more sex. And it's really true. And if we can have this healing in that area and be really open, what's possible through sexuality is really, really amazing. It's energy. Sexual energy is energy. And we have been taught it's negative energy, or it's only to be experienced in certain ways, but it's energy. And we can say it's God's energy. What if we said the sexual energy, second chakra energy, is God's energy? Holy cow.
Right.
I mean,
you're blowing my mind.
Wow. You opened the door.
I love it. Now you're giving me ammunition now.
Right. Well, I mean,
I'm going to go around talking about sex being God's energy. And people are like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Right. No. We have to get and maybe that is a whole other conversation and a whole other podcast. But, when we heal, everything is framed differently. Everything is framed differently. So I could probably, end up getting a lot of potentially negative feedback about that without really being able to support it. So I'm glad to, I'm continuing on my own journey to understand and to heal. And I'm not going to claim by any means to be any sort of expert in that area. But I have experienced quite a bit of healing. And if you know anything about chakras, first through third chakra, your base, your sacral area, and your solar plexus, they can, in some beliefs, be linked into ages 0 to 7, your base chakra, 7 to 14 in your sacral, and 14 to 21 in your solar plexus. And if this tying everything back in, going back to what I first started with, most of my issues were digestive. And when I, years and years and years later, and many spirals later, I come to this realization that I still had a lot to heal in my first through third chakras. And I chose it. I'm not forced to do anything. I chose to dive in and do that deep level of healing work through those ages of my life and those chakras and energy centers in my body.
It's amazing. It's amazing. What about money?
Money. Oh, I love talking about money too.
You're
very,
right.
very taboo.
Everybody wants it for different reasons. And everyone, there's nothing wrong with wanting money. Money provides you with freedom. Freedom's big for me. It's the reason I want money.
Yeah.
To tell anybody I want, like, fuck you. I don't need you. I'm not beholden to you. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. It's got a bad vibe.
Interesting.
Bad connotation.
Right. Well, yeah. So we have all of this work is about, what's the underlying limiting belief. So when I teach classes on money, we go into, what are your beliefs about money? At ages 0 to 7, we are basically marinating in the environment in our home. Our subconscious mind is completely open. We're sponges, and we sponge up everything that's around us. The people we spend the most time with are our family. And so what are our family beliefs about money? I mean, some of those are, if you have money, if you're wealthy, you can't be a good person, or
bullshit.
Right. And most of us know people, or you can be surprised by somebody who's just a wonderful person to find out they have so much money. But the people that maybe this idea of money being linking in with greed, that's what makes it into the media. So we think I don't want to lose my friends because I have money now. I mean, there's so many things, a whole class. And I had this one client come into this money class, and her family is very, very well off. And she said, I almost didn't come, but I figured, I already got the sitter, I'm going to come along. She left there with her mind completely open to her own beliefs of limitation, even though they were, in ease and flow with their finances. She said she felt guilty buying a $10 t-shirt for herself or a $20 t-shirt for herself. So money links into guilt and go down and down and down. It links into self-worth. Almost all of our work links into, one of 4 most common beliefs. And it's comes down to self-worth. I'm not worthy of having what I most deeply desire. I'm not worthy of having it without sacrifice. I mean, we have this belief of, I need to work my tail off. I need to work my ass off to get what I want. Or I must have to sacrifice in this area in order to be in a state of abundance. So I love bringing money talk into abundance, because ultimately money doesn't solve it all. It certainly gives some of that freedom. But if we move to abundance discussion, abundance of fun, of ease, of joy, of prosperity, to be in this place of abundance. And one more thing that I love in reframing money and just energy and abundance in general is to take ourselves to what rolls off the tongue is to be in a state of giving and receiving. Giving is first. So I shift that to, I want to be in a state of receiving and giving. Even if it's that I receive first, I'm filled with God's love. I'm opening up and filling with the love and light of the universe. And then I can give. But saying giving and receiving is inherently that I've got to give first. But if we can, not in a selfish way, but if we can put ourselves, our own inner work at the top of our own priority list and be willing to receive God's love or abundance first, then we can move forth and give it.
I love it. I can't wait to do a session with you.
Set it up.
So tell me about some of the breakthroughs that you've experienced in your work with some of your clients.
So since we were just talking about money, I'm thinking of this young girl that I worked with, this vibrant young girl. She had already gotten her bachelor's degree, was working in a hospital, and she wanted to go back to school to become a physician assistant. She had applied, and one of the issues was one of her kind of test scores, like graduate kind of entry test scores, was not high enough. And so she's taking my classes, understanding, like looking at what her blocks are, feeling all of that which goes with her blocks, and then releasing those and coming into this place of being able to create and receive. And so she starts focusing on this particular score that she wants on this test. She's posting notes all over her apartment and telling her roommates, and she's meditating on it. She tells a whole class full of people, and she's studying along with that, but she's got this solid. She ends up getting the exact score that she meditated on. Well, as she's on this journey, then that meant applying for the schools and things like that. She started her own business on the side just to fill in, supplemental income. She loves animals. She's just a guru with dogs. And so she starts walking dogs, and she's really great. She's taking pictures, sending them to the owner, videos. I mean, she loves these dogs, and her business is growing and growing. And she actually was just such a great influence, and she needed the money. So she did some bookkeeping for me when I needed the help, and she learned how to run a business here. So she's getting busier and busier and busier with this dog walking. And she texted me the longest text. I don't know if you've ever gotten a text that basically goes into, pages in the 11 o'clock one night. And she said, Kristen, I'm on the wait list at these schools. Whatever number on a wait list, but I've started my own business. I'm so happy. I'm walking dogs. I'm working full time. I'm making more money than I've ever made. And I am not going to go to school. I'm going to, and she's saying, and my parents think I'm crazy and all of this stuff. And I'm going, oh my gosh. And thank you. And she's thanking me. This is all because of the work I did with you. And I'm going, wow. So I just got a text from her last week, just checking in, seeing how she's doing. And she said that she hit 6 figures 6
Wow.
figures.
Walking dogs.
Walking dogs. She has employees.
Holy shit.
She has a business manager. She has employees, and she is in a 6-figure dog walking business. And happy as that's, I don't care about the money. She is happy.
Happy.
Yeah.
Right.
We all grow up with this idea of what success is, you know, and nowhere in there was this happiness. She is happy.
I love it. Yeah. Money doesn't buy you happiness. Bullshit. Believe me, I can tell you when I go, I get a check for 15 or 20 grand and I cash it. It feels fucking good. It's pretty fucking happy. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. And how long did it take her to do that?
So she got that in a year. So I think from that one March to this March was something like that was a year's time. So it wasn't like a fiscal year, but in this year's time, she just said, I just hit 6 figures.
That's amazing.
I mean, very, very inspiring.
That's good stuff. And then that makes you feel good, obviously.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I felt
oh my God. You probably felt better than she felt.
Exactly. But you know what? And that's the one of the many things I do in my work is I imagine what it's going to feel like to get those texts. So I had another client on a much more serious topic go from her, she's pregnant, go from her midwife's office straight to the hospital because there was some severe issue with the baby. She called me on the way. I said, pull over and we're going to do like the fastest session we've ever done. We did a 20-minute session, releasing all of her fears, bringing her into this place of positivity. And I told her when she goes into that hospital, the only thing she's responsible for is the feeling that she wants at the end of that visit, that she is fine, that the baby is fine, that she gets to leave and go and sleep in her own bed because they were threatening needles and bed rest and overnights in the hospital. And she said she focused on that the whole time, how she wanted to feel. And after the doctor kind of reprimanded her for not doing all these extra tests, she just stayed in that place and was laughing with him. And the ultrasound tech is going, this looks perfect. This looks perfect. This looks perfect. And she left that hospital that day to have the rest of her amazing pregnancy and a fabulous birth because she chose what she wanted, the feeling that she wanted. And she was able to, because she's been doing this work to kind of override all of those fears.
She created her reality.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. You must love it. I mean,
I do. I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world.
Yeah. I mean, it shows. It shows just the way you're talking here. And that's why I'm looking forward to doing a session with you. I mean, I've known you and this and that, but now that I see you talking about it and lighting up and just the stuff you're saying, I'm sold.
Yay,
I'm sold
great.
Big time. I love it. So meditation's a big aspect, right?
Yes. Yeah. Meditation is a huge aspect because that's how we access our subconscious mind. So all of our programming is in our subconscious mind, most of it. Only 5% of our thoughts, actions, and beliefs, maybe 5 to 10%, are a result of our conscious mind. That means 90 to 95% of our thoughts, actions, and beliefs are a result of our subconscious mind. So we want to honor and cherish our subconscious mind because we don't have to relearn how to brush our teeth every day or learn how to drive a car every day. But also in there is all of this automatic programming. The automatic cycling through what I call the story loop, an upset, automatic thoughts, automatic feelings over time lead to beliefs that feel like truth and then habits and patterns. And this is a loop that goes around and around and around. So if we want to change, we have to get into where the programming is. So one of the best ways to do that is through meditation. I mean, I've spent 14 years studying, traveling this country, studying under people who are living what they believe. And then I started opening, this work up for myself too. And now I take people through guided meditations, and I started asking life and the universe, like, give me more. And then I start seeing things in my meditations. And when that started happening, or I'm seeing something when I'm guiding somebody else through a meditation, that was freaking me out, and I was staying quiet. And then I decided, I'm going to start, telling them some of this stuff, and it was being confirmed to me. But when we get to that subconscious mind and we can release the limiting beliefs and the programming there, and then put in what we want, again, yes, meditation is one of the ways to do that. So
Fantastic. Yeah. So I'm going to have you back on again at some point.
That'd be great. I would
because
love
we've
it.
got a lot of stuff to talk about. Where can people find out about your retreats, your website, all that stuff? Where are your retreats? Are they in North Carolina?
So right now they're in North Carolina. My vision is to grow and expand, obviously, and just help as many people as possible. So, I do some traveling when people pull together a group. I've done that, but the retreats right now are in Boone, North Carolina. So it's in the mountains. So this really gorgeous retreat center with a fabulous kind of almost 180-degree view of the mountains. I have a newsletter, that goes out, information and things out, once or twice a week, and people can sign up for that. It's free. There's a few free videos at the beginning of that. So that's just www.kristenoliver.com. And it's Kristen Oliver.com. So, people can find out through there. I have, the retreats all on my website. I'm launching my book here soon, so that will be on there as well. And, have classes, and I do have an online program that's in development stages, but I have some videos as well. So if people aren't in the area, they can check those things out, and they're on the store on my website.
Perfect. So KristenOliver.com, that's Kristen Oliver.com. Retreats, Boone, North Carolina. Sounds amazing, right? Yeah. Who doesn't want to go to the mountains and heal yourself and fix your shit? All the shit that's holding you back.
I love that, because that's what I remind people when they say thank you so much, and I'm like, it's you've done it. I am just the witness. I've forged the way because I've done all of this stuff and I teach you these things, but you're the one that's done it. So I love how you said that.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Thanks for being here. I had a great time chatting with you about this. We'll do it again. Yeah. And I look forward to doing a session with you as well.
That sounds great. I'd love to.
Awesome.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much.
Sure. Bye-bye.
All right.